I'm just trying to load Dueling Book. I'm not gonna actually play any matches on Dueling Book tonight, most likely, but I still kind of like to have it open during these streams if I just need to look up, like, any specific card at any given moment in time. I mean, it's not just a dueling simulator, you can also, like, technically just look at it as a card almanac as well. Yeah, you can search for any card, so if I need to go search for a card to sort of, like, go along with whatever I'm talking about in any given moment, I can go do that. And if I'm not mistaken, Ghost Trick Doll actually is a real card. Yeah, so I guess the name for Ghost Trick Doll is in fact already taken, so... Yeah, this one right here would just need a different name, but other than that, I mean, like, the card itself was fine. I don't know why you'd want to go and destroy your own face-up attack position monsters in, like, 99% of board states, but there's the option, I guess. And then none of these options are, like, too powerful on the card by themselves, but the power of that would... But there would just be, like, the benefit of being able to choose, like, which of the... I'd say, like, 5 options, but who's gonna want to really, like, in most cases, destroy their own attack position monsters? They get to choose from, like, one of 4 options. Whether they want to attack directly for 2,000, draw a card, summon another copy of this card from the extra deck, probably, I don't know, go make a rank 4 play with that. Or pop a monster. Oh yeah, this card was an even bigger disaster than anything from the entire Flandre's archetype. And even cards that blended very well into that deck that weren't even part of the Flandre's archetype. That being Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds. Also, I looked at this card on the last live stream of this I did, where I was reviewing AI cards. So what if there was, like, an easy way to just make a rank 3 that you could just very easily put in your deck? Because this card allows you to very easily just OTK. During your main phase, attach one material from this card. Gains an attack and defense equal to the total attack of all face-up monsters on the field. So, at the bare minimum, this would be 3,600 attack by its own effect. But there are probably most likely going to be other monsters on the field. It doesn't matter, like, who controls the monsters, whether it's your opponent or you have, like, monsters on your field. Let's just say, like, each player has, like, a bunch of monsters on their field, and this thing will very easily be able to gain enough attack to just go for a one-shot kill. And I don't think it's gonna be too hard to just spit out 2 level 3 monsters. And then I remembered, oh wait, doesn't Tour Guide from the Underworld exist? Where you can just normal summon her, and then summon another copy of the Tour Guide from the deck, and then immediately go into your rank 3 of choosing. Such as this one, if this were a real card. I mean, I'm pretty sure I already said no to printing the Courtier in the TCG, or any form of the Yu-Gi-Oh card game. In any way, shape, or form, because it's probably easy to summon, only being a rank 3, and it has very good OTK potential. And yeah, Tour Guide is basically a 1-card traffic Courtier, assuming the card actually existed in the real game. Oh no, how much more money was wasted on this app that most of us didn't even ask for? Yeah, I heard, like, there were, like, 2 people in somebody's basement that collected $11 million to help develop this app and they didn't actually really develop anything. $54 million spent for an app to just keep track of people entering and leaving Canada, mainly to make sure that they're vaccinated against the latest strain of COVID-19. And I heard there was, like, a group of people that managed to recreate a similar app for, like, $250,000. So, $53,000 and $750,000 less, roughly. Granted, probably maybe those 2 people probably had like a much smaller database, whereas if this app was probably developed for all of us in Canada here, so you probably needed like, I don't know, much more capacity for data storage than like 2 people maybe just trying to create some sort of replica. But I don't even think that can like explain like the difference, and I don't even think that can explain like the $53 million difference. There was allegedly like 2 people that just collected $11 million and didn't really do anything with that. But I booted up the stream to instead review AI-generated Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So in other words, I take a look at cards from this X account, and based on what I just read, I do my best to determine whether or not this card would be fine to print in the actual card game. I mean, obviously, if like the name is taken, I just sort of lean towards no, like for Ghost Trick Doll, but other than the name already being used by another card that already exists, this card was fine. But now, on to cards I haven't actually talked about yet on this channel. Okay, I like how Karibo Adventure is written in quotation marks here. So it's an equipped spell that special summons a dragon-type monster from your deck! Or graveyard. I guess if you want to summon also something from your graveyard, but special summon one of the most, if not the most supported monster type in the game. Special summon one of those from your deck, if you do equip it with this card. But neither player can activate the equipped monster's effects until the end of the next turn. So if you do get rid of this spell card, one way or another, can the monster then start to use its effects? At the end of the battle phase, if you control no other face-up monster, the equipped monster can attack your opponent directly this turn. At the end of... I just noticed that said, at the end of the battle phase, your opponent... This monster can attack directly. So... that's basically just useless text on the card. That's non-functional. If this face-up card in this spell and trap card zone is destroyed, you can target one Karibo card in your spell trap zone. Not 100% sure how you're gonna get a Karibo card there. Return it to the... okay, now we're just going on a completely different tangent here. Assuming there's a... I mean, there's a Karibo archetype, sure, but assuming they actually let you put the Karibo monsters in the spell trap zone, which I know, like, that's not something that Karibos do. But no, what really stands out here is special summon a dragon-type monster from your deck. But, yeah, neither player can activate the equipped monster's effects. But then again, I assume there would probably be like an easy enough way to just remove this from the field, and then from there... yeah, and then from there, I guess you can use the monster's effects. Still, special summon any dragon-type monster directly from the deck. Oh no, there's probably quite a few ways to take advantage of this, so just to be safe, I wouldn't try it. Dogmatica. Alright, so already off to a crazy start here. Extra deck Dogmatica monster. Dogmatica, the Magistus Sovereign. Alright, so it's a Spellcaster Fusion, one Dogmatica monster, one Spellcaster monster. Once per turn, you can target one face-up Dogmatica monster you control. Equip it to this card. When a Dogmatica monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle... so that would include this, by the way. You can draw... so every time, you can draw one card. I don't personally think that would need, like, a hard once per turn. Since you can only theoretically really draw, like, as many cards as monsters you can run over in battle. During the standby phase of the next turn, after this card was sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon this card on a hard once per turn. Of the next turn after this card was sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon this card, so... that would make it tough to out, but as I would know, Because I would know having to face down cards like Destiny Hero Destroyer, Phoenix Enforcer right as I got back into Yu-Gi-Oh! I would know that it's not impossible to out. I don't know, if you spin it back to the extra deck or banish it, it's not going to be able to just keep on reviving itself over and over. And then if you just tribute it over with something like a Kaiju or a Lava Golem, it can't come back either from that. I don't know why you want to equip your Dogmatic monsters to this card. They don't want to be doing that, but other than that, I mean, it's fine. I don't know, I guess ship it. Dark Magician. Who knew Dark Magician needed an Assault Mode form? Wasn't there like exactly one Assault Mode monster that saw competitive play and then none of the others even came close? If there was one that even saw play. Alright, so yep, this card can't be special summon. No, it has to be special summon. It can't be normal summon or set. This card cannot be special summoned except by removing from play one Dark Magician from your deck or graveyard. If it doesn't say from where, I guess we just assume like it's like templated like old cards where it just say cannot be special summoned except by and so on and so forth, and then it would just assume that it would be from your hand. If it doesn't say from where, we just assume it's from hand. I mean, newer cards, it would say like in parentheses from your hand, just so there's no confusion, but I'm still familiar with like the templating of older cards where they didn't really say from where, and we just assumed it's always out of hand in that case, unless it says from where. But removing from play one Dark Magician from your... Okay, this is much easier to summon than any other Assault Mode monster. When this card or a spellcaster monster is special summon from the hand, you can banish one Assault Mode activate from your deck. We're not even using the Assault Mode activate to summon this thing. We're using it to special summon another spellcaster monster from the graveyard. Okay, at least it's a hard once per turn. Okay, spellcaster monster from the grid. It's fine too. This is also like perfectly reasonable. You're special summoning spellcasters from the graveyard, sure, but it's a hard once per turn. Okay, just what? What is this card name? Okay, I think I recognize the art at least. It looks like it's mirrored and palette swapped. Doku something? This boomerang. No, not this guy. Dokuro Yaiba. Okay, so that's where the AI got the boomerang with brains. So the actual boomerang with brains will pursue a target to the ends of the earth. Whereas this one is better off asleep in a park than in a... Well, aren't we all better off sleeping in a park than in war? Don't we all agree with Doodle here? Yeah, if there's any place assuming I could fall asleep, because I don't know, you gotta like contend with the sounds of grenades exploding, guns, rifles being fired. How are you supposed to fall asleep during a war anyway? And if you somehow did fall asleep during a war, that's a pretty good way to get your ass killed. Someone looks interesting. Wait, 10,000 attack on a level 1?! Okay. This looked reasonable enough, and then I saw the attack stat on this level 1 here. Isn't there a card that also just searches out level 1s from the deck or something? Ah, yes. If for some reason you need to special summon a 10,000 attack beat stick, you could use 1-for-1 to do that. You can send one face-up spell trap your opponent controls to the graveyard and target one spell trap card you control. Semicolon. Return that target to the hand. So, if I'm reading this right, yeah, you can also just use this to remove your opponent's spells and traps. Send to the graveyard for cost. So this is basically spell trap removal that can't even be responded to, because you can only respond to the effect after the cost is done being paid, just like with kaijus and lava golems. It's basically the same kind of like removal that literally cannot be interacted with until like it's too late and the cards are removed. Now this just tributes off, like, quote unquote tributes off back row for cost. Yeah, just exactly what my 10,000 attack level 1 beat stick should be doing. Getting rid of your opponent's spells and traps, literally not even letting them respond. Target 1 spell trap card you control, return that target to the hand. I think this combos well with that girl that with that defense draw girl that showed up in livestream number 8 or something. Okay, where's the defense draw girl? Return a spell trap you control to the hand, yeah. Madam Pull combos well with this. Send one of your opponent's spell traps to the graveyard, they can't use it in response because that's literally getting sent for cost. Let's just say you put this back in your hand to activate it again to just discard a card, draw 2. You stay hand neutral the first time you activate this, and then you stay hand neutral again. You could just discard your worst cards, or cards you happen to like not need given the current board state. And then you just keep digging through your deck and more likely to draw the cards you actually do want in your hand. Yeah, I mentioned how like this would probably be like, I mean, even like worst case scenario, like unless you get hit with Ash Blossom or something, you get to stay hand neutral. And cards you can kind of just like freely dispense and let you remain hand neutral, those also tend to be like really fucking good in Yu-Gi-Oh! Considering there's like typically no limit to how many spells you can play in a turn, and there's no hard ones per turn on this. Getting to put it back into your hand just to activate it again, even more nutty. Level 1 with a bounce effect, that's neat. There's use there. What are the stats like? God damn, that's a thick boy. It sends it, yeah, it sends an opponent's card for cost. That's like the next thing I noticed. Okay, so what is this Wheel of Destiny? Normal trap. If a monster is special summoned, target one of them. Special summon one fusion monster from your extra deck that lists that monster on the field as fusion material. Using it as the fusion material. I'm probably gonna want to read that again. Do a little double take to make sure I read it right. So if your opponent summons something that happens to have like a name that is listed on a fusion monster that's in your extra deck, then you can just cheat that fusion monster out of the extra deck and get rid of their monster. Okay, this last bit just doesn't even work. When a monster is special summoned, you can banish this card from your graveyard. You take no effect damage from opponent's monster attacks. Okay, that doesn't work. Still that first part. I'm just trying to think of like all the possible applications where this could possibly just go horribly wrong for the opponent. I'm just wondering, like, what are the best monsters to really go cheat out of the extra deck with, like, I don't know, Wheel of Destiny? There's probably honestly, like, hundreds of targets that could be good for this. I mean, this is still, like, a tough one. I'm trying to think of, like, monsters that are commonly played that also happen to have their names written in the card text of fusion monsters. I'm trying to think of some. I don't know, maybe Fallen of Albaz, but more often than not, I'm kind of just seeing that sent to the graveyard off Branded Fusion anyways. I don't know, would it technically pass for a real card in Yu-Gi-Oh? I really wish I knew, like, more about, like, what specific names showed up on Fusion Monsters so I could actually just give my 2 cents on this one. I mean, it's still probably, like, easy enough to determine if this is a fair card for Yu-Gi-Oh! Not as easy as Madam Pull here with the 10,000 attack on a level 1. So Madam Pull, attack, GG. I'm just gonna go pull up another card. Wait, but aren't the Exo Sisters like all spell? Okay, like the effect monsters, the main deck monsters are spellcasters, from what I remember. The Xyz monsters are warriors. So why is this being made with light fairy monsters? Also, Exo Sisters, since when did they have Link monsters? Also, I'm trying to remember if they actually have like cards that literally don't let you like special summon anything that's not like those non-Xyz monsters. So that is good. I'm trying to remember if like there are any cards in the archetype that lock you into summoning only Xyz monsters out of the extra deck. I mean, I think there's at least, like, one Exo Sister monster that doesn't let you special summon anything that's not an Exo Sister monster. But yeah, they typically just want to, like, Xyz summon, so... I don't know why we're trying to Link summon all of a sudden here. Yeah, Martha locks you into Exo Sister monsters for the turn. I don't think any of these, like... Okay, this also locks you into Exo Sister monsters. Okay, none of them lock you into specifically, like, Xyz summoning. If this card is Link Summon, you can send one Exo Sister card from your deck to the graveyard. Then if there are Exo Sister monsters in your graveyard, you can special summon any number of them! Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except fairy monsters. How are we supposed to realistically use this anyways? In an archetype that doesn't even have any fairy monsters. I mean, you're gonna get to special summon at least one of them if you send a monster with the first effect. While an Exo Sister spell is in your graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Add one Exo Sister spell from your deck to your hand. I still don't even know what to say about this one because... Why is this a fairy, and why does this care about fairy monsters in an archetype that only really consists of spellcasters and warriors? And not to mention, I got a little scared when I read target any number of Exo Sister monsters in your graveyard, special summon all of them. Right, Void Condemnation. Quick play spell. Banish one face-up infernal monster. This is an archetype I'm not really, like, super knowledgeable about. Special summon one infernal monster from your deck with the same original type and attribute as that banished monster, but with a different name and 200 attack higher. But with a different name and 200 attack higher. But with a different name and 200... The AI had a stroke. Also, for the rest of this turn, you cannot activate cards or the effects of cards with the same name as the monster banished by this card's effect. Alright, you can only activate one per turn. Different name and 200 attack higher. Different name and... Let me just look up all of the Infernoid monsters. So they all have the same type and attribute for starter. Okay, they're all Fire Fiends for starters. Okay, so there is a 2400 and then there's a 2600 attack Infernoid. But when this is written 3 times, how do you apply that? Same original type and attribute as whatever you banish, but with a different name and 200 attack higher, but with a different name and... I don't even want to try and decipher this one. just forget everything you read. Dark Ritualist Risen Elgar. So got a Fairy Tuner, light level 2. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Ritual Sanctuary. I don't think that card exists though. We would have to assume that it did. 1 Ritual Sanctuary from deck to hand. Or if you added a Dark Magician or Dark Ritualist cards from your deck to your hand during this turn, except this card. You can add 1 level 5 or higher light or dark dragon monster from your deck to your hand instead, and if you do, add the top 5 cards from your opponent's list to their hand, based on what was added or removed. Okay, now I'm getting confused. Okay, now it's all just falling apart here. Add the top 5 cards from your opponent's list to their hand, based on what was added or removed from their hand. Once per turn during the main phase, you can negate the addition of any number of Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your deck to your... Why would you want to negate the adding of your own cards from your deck to your hand? Why do you want to do that anyways? And specifically, you can stop yourself from adding your own Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl that are also not Dark Ritualist Risen Elgar, which they can't be in the first place. I don't know what the hell I'm reading here. I don't know. I'm just gonna say no and move on. I kind of feel like I suck at just evaluating these AI-generated cards, but once you start to read stuff like that, it's just like, I don't know. Also, it doesn't help that I haven't exactly been playing like that much Yu-Gi-Oh! Lately, for one thing. Okay, I meant to click on the Yuri Master. Ah, here we go. That's a Rika monster though, isn't it? I've played against Rika like a fair number of times. I think I actually recognize like where the art's from. Aha. A perfect match. And if I'm not mistaken, like I think one of them is Mudan and the other one is... There's like a... I guess there's like another like Rika fairy that didn't really see play in Rika decks. Yeah, I recognize Mudan for sure. Then there's like another one. Yeah, I think this is her. This one doesn't really see play. Like this one though does. So that's Erica. Like that's the Rika monster that doesn't really get played, like at all. But no, we're XC summoning this with 2 level 9 monsters. Or a rank 5 or higher plant Xyz monster we control as the material. Just rank up from like any rank 5 or higher plant into this, you can do that too. Cannot be used as material for an XC summon, so if you want to like rank up, climb up into Zeus with this, you can't. Once per turn you can target 1 Yuri monster in your graveyard. Banish it, then destroy all monsters your opponent controls with attack greater than or equal to the... Okay, so we banish a monster from our graveyard, destroy our monsters. Destroy the opponent's monsters with attack greater than or equal to whatever we banish. So let's just say we get rid of something with very low attack. That will probably likely just destroy the opponent's board. This attack and defense scale, according to the number of monsters XC summon this way. What do you mean? Once per turn you can attach 1 material from this card. Then target 1 Yuri monster in your graveyard and special summon it. I don't know what the hell the bracketed text is supposed to be going on about, like, at all. This honestly, for some reason, reminds me of that giant, like, rank 11 spider that just can destroy, like, all your opponent's monsters also, with lower defense than, like, its own defense, and by itself, it typically has, like, 2200 because it's a rank 11. And if you have, like, other Xyz monsters out, the Pain Gainer gets more defense, yeah. So this really just reads, like, Pain Gainer number 2 Electric Boogaloo, in my honest opinion. I mean, other than the art being ripped off from a pre-existing card, it's perfectly fine. I don't know what the hell this has to do with Naturias, though, but the card makes sense. Okay, do I want to read this Pendulum? We'll go for it anyways. Yeah, because I have to read 2 text boxes now. Once per turn, you can banish. Okay, so I'm just gonna read. I'm gonna read this, the pendulum, the effect it has in the spell trap zone first, because that's the one that's on top. So in a spell trap zone, once per turn, you can banish one spell stone card in your hand. Each player chooses one face-up card on the field except the spell stone card and places it on the bottom of the deck. During the end phase of this card is activated this turn, you can target one spell stone card in your pendulum zone except Spellstone Veteran, put it back into your hand. I don't know why we'd want to do that. Okay, so in the monster zone, if it's used as synchro material and sent to the graveyard, or added to the extra deck face up, it's only gonna get added to the extra deck face up when it leaves the field, because it's a pendulum. You can target one card in the field except the Spellstone card, banish it. If you synchro summon with this, banish something if you control no monsters, or do not want to pendulum summon, except during the damage step. How would you just not want to? Do you just like literally tell your opponent, I don't feel like pendulum summoning? I have monsters on my field, but no, I don't want to pendulum summon this turn. So I guess you could just use the effect, but then like that turn you cannot like pendulum summon. You can reveal this card in your hands. Then if you control another Spellstone monster, you can special summon this card. Wait, if you control no monsters, then you control another. No, this doesn't work. Either control no monsters or... Okay, so you have to literally just not want the pendulum summon, yet you're playing this pendulum monster. And if you control another... Yeah, if you control another Spellstone monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Oh, I really, like... If you do not want the pendulum summon, caught me off guard. I don't know what else to say. Also find that ironically hilarious as someone who plays Yu-Gi-Oh! And quite frankly does not want to pendulum summon. Is perfectly content with not pendulum summoning anything. You can just say, I don't want to pendulum summon, and their face changes from confusion to annoyance in a millisecond. Totally feels like an acceptable card, except how do we, like, implement if you do not want the pendulum summon? But you didn't want to! I do not want a pendulum summon. Activate effect. Okay, pendulum summon. But you didn't want to! I changed my mind. So would there have to be like a rule like implemented, so if you state that you don't want a pendulum summon for the turn, you have to abide by that if you're able to, and thus not pendulum summon that turn? Would that actually be like how an effect like that would work if those words could actually like appear on a Yu-Gi-Oh card proper, but they don't? Defender of Azos. Got a level 4 Light Fiend. If this card's in your graveyard and you control Elemental Hero Avion, you can banish this card from your graveyard and declare one attribute. This card's name becomes the declared attribute until the end phase. I don't know what I'm exactly supposed to do with a banished card that's literally named like exactly fire, or water, or light, or earth, or wind, or dark. I don't know what you were supposed to accomplish with that. If this card in the graveyard is destroyed, you can declare one wedge counter. So would you literally just like say like to your opponent, like you declare it, one wedge counter? This doesn't actually like place a wedge counter anywhere on the field, and even then, like this doesn't explain or interact with these wedge counters. No, you just declare. I guess you declare the phrase, one wedge counter. I have two things to say about this. No. Don't bother printing this, and one wedge counter. Cracking Chain, continuous trap. Once per turn, you can destroy one card to negate the effects of all dinosaur-type monsters on the field until the end of this turn. Once per turn, you can discard one card to negate the effects of all non-dinosaur type monsters on the field. And okay, this just... that took a complete 180. I read the first sentence and I just thought for sure this was just going to be like a hoser to deal with dinosaur decks. No, you can also just opt to negate the effects of every other monster that's not a dinosaur too. Negate the effects of all the monsters on the field until the end of the turn, but you have to just keep discarding cards to actually keep this effect active though. I was gonna say like this is busted, but Skill Drain also just negates the effects of all monsters on the field. Instead of discarding cards, you're just paying 1,000 life points like once instead of discarding cards over and over. Yeah, then when I remember like cards like Skill Drain exist, this just reads like a worse version of Skill Drain. You're discarding multiple cards and instead of paying just a measly 1,000 life points once. I mean, then again, this would actually be pretty silly if you were playing a dinosaur deck, or the opponent was, because then it would be like a kind of a one-sided skill drain if, let's just say, either you or your opponent plays dinosaurs, but the other person does not. Then this is basically a one-sided skill, but it has like a much steeper cost to actually keep it active. Yeah, if the duel really drags on for long enough, you'll just run out of cards in your hand. If you want to keep discarding it every turn to keep it alive, that is. So yeah, that is fine because Skill Drain is just, I mean, unless the name Crackling Chain is taken or something, or Cracking Chain. Unless a card is already named this, it's fine. Cracking, there's no Cracking Chain. At least not yet anyways. Virtual World Beast, Jujutsu King. Psychic Tuner, non-tuner monsters. The only Psychic Tuners that really come to mind are like from the Punk archetype. There's others, but those are the first ones I really think of. When this card is Synchro Summon, you can banish up to one card each from your opponent's graveyard. Wait, huh? You can banish up to one card each from your opponent's graveyard. Then each player selects one level 1 or rank 4 monster from their extra deck and resides them in their virtual world zone. That doesn't exist. You can only... If you could actually probably like use the effect, that is, because there's no virtual world zone. And resides them, and that would have to be like another new mechanic that we haven't, that the AI came up with that we don't know what it is. Like, what the hell is that mechanic? A pot card. This is gonna be interesting. Excavate the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. And if you do, add up to 2 excavated spells traps from those cards to your hand. Also send the other cards to the graveyard. Okay, it only adds spells and traps, but still I think this could be busted. I think it will probably be like honestly more busted if you could just like add your own cards instead, because I don't know, like what if you just like only really excavate cards that, I don't know. What if you excavate cards that are like literally only like in their archetype and like you're not playing like the same archetype they are? Oh no, like I see like Kashtira Theosis like among their top 3 cards, but I don't play like Kashtira personally, so I can't really use the card because I'm literally not playing that archetype. Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, there are still like plenty of staple spells and traps you can nab with this, so I still think it would be a little bit OP. There's not even a once per turn on this either. So you could potentially steal like multiple cards, especially if you draw like multiple copies of the pod here. And I still think it could be busted because there probably are like enough staple spells and traps to go around anyways. You could yoink off the opponent's deck. Like, I was thinking of the triple tactics cards you could steal. There's still like plenty of good cards you can just yoink off the top of somebody's deck with this, that pretty much anybody could use. Now here we have Beast Warrior Blaze Omega. I'm not really gonna be like one to comment on that art though, Beast Warrior fusion monster. One, okay. Beast Warrior is written in quotation marks, so that would have to imply that it would have, like, Beast Warrior in the card name, +1 Blaze Monster. If this card is special summoned, you can inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each dragon or rock monster you control. But I thought we were playing Beast Warriors. A Beast Warrior, in quotation marks, so like, Beast Warrior name monster that was Synchro Xyz summoned using this card on the field as material gains this effect. So either like a level 11 or 12 Synchro or a rank 10 Xyz would gain this effect. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, it'd be a pretty strong monster, whatever you summon with this, so it's... Okay, it could get destroyed by card effects, though. You can special summon one Beast Warrior monster from your extra deck, except another copy of this, which is treated as an Xyz summon, even if you, I don't know, special summon something that's not an Xyz monster. I want to just say no, because having Beast Warrior, like, as an archetype would be, like, a little too confusing, because it could just easily be mixed up with, like, the monster-type Beast Warrior. That would just be confusing as hell, for no good reason. I want to just say no because of that, but... I mean, other than that, like, there's nothing too, like, intrinsically broken about the card. The Astralios. The end of an age. Alright, so I got a level 9 Dark Fairy Ritual that you can ritual summon with the Sanctuary in the Sky, which is not a ritual spell. We're already off to a good start here. During the end phase of this card, was ritual summoned this turn, and was destroyed by an opponent's card. Draw one card. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. When a monster is special summoned to your side of the field, special summon this card from your hand, but it's a ritual monster. If this card is destroyed by a battle, you can add... Why do I feel like just half the text on this card literally just doesn't work? You have to use, like, some other sort of ritual spell that can ritual summon, like, any monster of some kind. I know there's, like, a ritual spell that lets you special summon, like, any dark ritual monster, so that could work. Then there's just, like... I'm trying to think, like, what else you can use to help you summon this. Advanced Ritual Art, if you don't mind playing normal monsters in your deck. That could do it, too. And if their levels add up exactly to 9. But if we really want to go a step further, Meteonis Drytron, because their ritual summons literally anything. You have to use a card like that to actually ritual summon this. And yeah, it would have to actually get destroyed the same turn it's summoned. Not really what I want to have happen to my monsters in the first place, just to draw, like, one card. This shouldn't be able to even special summon itself, like, from hand anyways, because it's a ritual monster. And just, I don't know, like, add a field spell from deck to hand if it dies in battle. How about this card literally doesn't work? You need to use, like, other ritual spells that cover, like, a wider range of monsters to actually properly summon this thing, because... Unless in an alternate universe that this AI resides in, where Sanctuary in the Sky is a ritual spell, but we bloody well know that it's not a ritual spell. Oh, Fistus, hi. Yeah, I went back to looking at more AI-generated Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Chosen by the World Chalice. 2. This monster no longer exists, but is now worshipped in the world. I was not around playing Yu-Gi-Oh when the World Chalice storyline was, like, the present storyline. I only really got back into, like, Yu-Gi-Oh, like, 2022, so we were, like, about halfway through, like, the Albaz storyline. Like, the series before that had, like, the World Legacy, World Chalice storyline that... This is probably supposed to be, like, an unintentional reference to that I'm just not getting. It's just kind of falling flat on its face to me. This monster no longer... So, did this character, like, die in the World Legacy story? and is now worshipped in the world? Because if so, the AI just nailed this flavor text if that's how the story ended. Not yet, but I probably gotta go see that still. So you beat an insane demon? If this is chosen by the World Chalice 2, does this mean that this is the second one chosen by the first World Chalice, or someone who was chosen by a second World Chalice? Man, you don't have to remind me. Check this out! Dice. So, was it Mech Knight Avram who had the, like, check this out flavor text? Was this the guy who died in the World Legacy storyline? I know there was, like, him, and, like, I think she died and, like, got revived or something. Okay, I vaguely also remember, like, it was part of the storyline. She had, like, a brother who was also... She had, like, a brother who really, like, did not take, like, his sister's death well, so he did, like, everything he could to try and bring her back to life. Yeah, he tried to bring her back to life and had to settle for putting her soul in this doll here. Or Galatia, the Orcus automaton. I think I saw, like, one video on Farf's channel where he was just playing through, like, the... Yeah, there was, like, a story mode and Master Duel for, like, the World Chalice storyline. I like how it's in black and white, so it just looks like a fucking obituary. I just vaguely remember that, like, 1 or 2 people die in the World Legacy story. That's about it. So, was it this guy who died or something? But yeah, still, like... Just the normal, like, level 3, 1200 attack vanilla is perfectly reasonable. Nobody would play it, but perfectly fair game to print. So Evolzar Giganta, which is a dragon. This card's in your hand, you can target 1 Evolzar card you control, and 1 rocket monster you control. Destroy other face-up monsters on the field. And if you do, special summon this card. If you control a face-up rocket card, except Evolzar Guardi Air, which is not a rocket card to begin with. You can target 1 Evolzar Xyz monster you control. Attach it to this card to it as material. You can only use each effect once per turn. Still, like, be able to nuke the board on, like, a level 4 monster. Pretty funny in my opinion, I must say. You have to have, like, 1 Evolzar and 1 rocket monster on the field to actually be able to, like, nuke the rest of the board. And then you special summon this card. I mean, there's still, like, plenty of cards that do exist that just destroy, like, all monsters on the field. Yeah, probably because, like, most of those just only destroy all monsters on the field and they can easily be negated, or monsters just exist that are immune to destruction effects, like, anyways. I think it's reasonable. Damage methods. Duel. Alright, we got a normal trap here. When you normal summon a damage methods duelist monster, special summon 1 damage duelist. Damage methods duelist monster from your deck. That monster's attack becomes doubled, while dreads, phantasms, and or effect damage calculation are negated. Wait, what? Also, it's destroyed during your next end phase. This is treated... Well, no shit, it's treated as a trap card. If you normal summon a damage methods duelist monsters, except during the damage step, you can banish this card from your graveyard. This card is treated as... This can banish this card from your graveyard. Parentheses. This is treated as a trap card. No effect! Just reminder text. Reminding you that it is, in fact, a trap card. Fun fact, did you know there is actually like an effect monster? There's only one effect monster in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! That doesn't actually have an effect? I don't know, I'm sure like the templating on this card was different back when it was printed, but the way it's worded now, the way it's been errata to now, this right here is an effect monster. And this is just parentheses, so this is not like an actual effect here. The fact that this card is always treated as a Harpy Lady. That's not like an effect anymore, so... Yeah, you have an effect monster with literally no effects. So cards like Infinite Impermanence literally cannot negate this card's effects because they don't exist in the first place. Fun fact. Level Soldier of Steel, 53. But it's a rank, but it's not even a level 1, it's a rank 1. That you make with level 6 or higher machine monsters. You overlay 2 level 6 or higher machine monsters to go down to a rank 1. Makes a lot of sense, apparently. Once per turn, you can tribute 1 other machine monster, then target 1 face-up card your opponent controls. Return that target to the hand, and that's a hard once per turn. That's just very this is just very underwhelming. Considering, I don't know, you can just summon like just about like almost any like rank 6 or rank 7 or rank 8 or even higher than that potentially. No. This rank 1 that only just bounces like face-up cards your opponent controls, and you have to tribute another machine monster as cost anyways. And not to mention you're only gonna have like 1500 attack on this, unless you boost it with something else. A Burning World. Field spell. All fire monsters on the field gain 300 attack and defense. Once per turn, you can send 1 fire monster from your deck to the graveyard for cost. Discard 1 fire monster. Then add to your hand 1 of your banished fire monsters. So you send from deck to the graveyard for cost. You can set up your graveyard with fire monster. Specifically, it's got to be fire monsters, though. But you actually, I think you also have to have like a banished fire monster to be able to add back to your hand in the first place. And of course a fire monster to discard to actually do anything besides just gain a measly 300 attack and defense with this. You're putting something from your deck into the graveyard, so you could plus off of that. You're discarding a fire monster, so you minus there. And then you add to your hand a banished fire monster, so you plus off that too. You still actually have to have like the monster to discard, the monster to add back in the banished pile. I guess it checks out. Take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, but I think this checks out. I think this is doable. Red Eye's Quasar Dragon. Alright, so that's generic materials right there on our Dark Dragon Synchro. Must either be Synchro summoned or special summoned by banishing a light and or dark monster. Oh, wait, so you can just summon this from the extra deck by banishing any light or dark monster you control? In which case, you do not, you already don't use polymerization to Synchro summon anyways. So you're telling me I can just summon this for the low cost of any light or dark monster? Once per turn, you can send 1 banished monster to the graveyard. So that monster you banished, you could just put it back in your graveyard. Yeah. And if you do that, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the original attack of that monster sent to the graveyard by this effect. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Red Eyes card from your deck to your hand. That is pretty good, considering just how easy it is to actually summon this thing. I mean, the monster itself isn't that... The effects aren't that good. It's just like what's really like stopping me here from just saying yes to printing this is just how easy this is to actually summon. Yeah, I'm really having to think about like this one here. This is easy to summon, sure, but there's probably also a lot of like other 3000 attack monsters that are like pretty easy to summon anyways. And whatever you banish, you could theoretically just put back into the graveyard anyways. If you really wanted to. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard from literally anywhere, you can add one Red Eyes card from your deck to your hand. As someone who's a pretty big fan of Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, I'm gonna say just give this a go and we'll see. We would have to see like if this is truly bonkers or not. I mean, for one thing, it's like really easy to summon, but the effects on this aren't like that backbreaking. I mean, Red Eyes, I guess, except for the Darkness Metal Dragon, like isn't really that good an archetype. Another Pendulum monster. Odd Eyes Phantom of the Opera. Level 7 Dark Fiend. Pendulum. So while it's in a spell trap zone. Alright, Pendulum scale of 10. Damn, that's good. If you have a Performant Pal or Odd Eyes card in your other Pendulum zone, you can destroy both cards in your Pendulum zones and then add one Pendulum monster from deck or extra deck to hand. I think there are already cards that kind of like do that, where you can just destroy like both monsters in your Pendulum zones to just add from deck to hand. And then like in a monster zone, if another Pendulum monster is normal special summon to your side of the field, except during the damage step, you can pop one of your opponent's cards. Then this monster's level becomes the same level of the monster that you summon to your field, I think? If this card is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can special summon one Odd Eyes monster from your deck or extra deck, except... Oh, from extra deck. Interesting. You can only do that once per... Interesting still. You can also just cheat Odd Eyes monsters out of the extra deck. What would be the best candidate to just play from the extra deck anyways? I think this is like, I'm pretty sure this is like the cover card for Age of Overlord or something. Okay, this has to be like properly like fusion summoned. Or special summoned by tributing a level 12 Dark Supreme King Z Arc, whatever that is. How many freaking Odd Eyes cards do we even have here? As you can imagine, I have never even touched these like in my life, these Odd Eyes monsters. There's so many, wow. I don't think it's busted. Coming from someone who barely knows like anything about pendulums, so I guess take that with a grain of salt. Okay, something let's just see. I was gonna say something I might be able to better evaluate because it's not a pendulum, but we gotta just see first. Dark Moon Valkyrie. Dark Fairy. Level 4. Once per turn, you can target one face-up fairy monster you control. The levels of all face-up fairy monsters currently and in the graveyards become the combined original levels of this card. And that face-up monsters and its fairy ritual, fusion, synchro, and exceeds monsters, applying 1,000 times that monster's original level in the graveyard. And if you do, shuffle the first. I am gonna have a fucking stroke here. If tied, the monster's attack. I'm gonna have a stroke if I keep reading this. I already love the art. I want to say yes just for the art on Jabbing Panda, the Grandmaster of Birds. Okay, you can summon a Winged Beast monster, so I guess maybe it checks out. If this card is Link Summon, you can special summon one beast monster from your hand, but it cannot attack this turn. Once returned during the main phase, you can Quick Effect. Immediately after that resolves, normal summon a Beast Warrior monster. If this card is destroyed by a battle, or if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, target one Jabbing Panda or one Winged Beast monster in your graveyard, add to your hand. Each affects a hard once per turn. This is perfectly reasonable. Perfectly, like, doable card. I got a continuous trap with a very interesting name, for one thing. My Opponent in Shadow. Continuous trap, which, when it resolves, shuffle one mythical beast monster from your hand or face-up field into the deck. Oh, if you control no monsters, you can activate this from your hand if you really want to. Why are we shuffling our own monsters into our deck, though? It's technically like a card you can print, but why would anyone ever use that? This is hella underpowered. Thesalcos Knight. I don't believe I've ever seen a knight looks like this before, but let's start reading the effect. Level 4 Light Warrior. Once per turn during your main phase, you can send one equip card equipped to this card to the graveyard. Equip one monster. Does it specifically have to be like a level 1 fairy light with like no attack and defense? Equip one monster to this card as an equip card. Once per turn. While equipped with an equip card, this card cannot be destroyed by a battle. And your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack and defense. And all monsters your opponent controls must attack this card during the end phase. I thought that was just gonna end, like, must attack this card, like, if able. No, during the end phase, they must declare attacks. In any phase outside the battle phase, just doesn't make sense. So I guess, like, they would be able to attack specifically during the end phase because this card's effect says that they must. I suppose, yeah, you can technically do all this. So we would just treat, like, those attacks made during the end phase as if they were just, like, made during any ordinary battle phase. You could technically do that, I think. And if I'm wrong, then so be it. Okay, I recognize... Okay, that's 3, like, Cyber Dragon heads, right? It looks like... I guess that's Cyber End Dragon, then. This looks like... I think Elemental Hero Shining Flare Wingman? Is this, I think, a screenshot from a Yu-Gi-Oh! GX episode? If I had to hazard a guess, I think it's the one where... I think it's, like... Not like the last... Was it, like, the last episode of Season 1 of GX? It was one where, like, Jaden and Zane had this quote-unquote graduation duel. Which ended, like... It ended in, like... The duel ended in a draw. And it also featured, like, the highest attack points on, like... any monsters, like, in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime franchise up to that point, I think. Yeah, I think, like, one of them had at least, like, 10,000 attack, and the other had at least 20,000 attack. I don't remember who played a card that made it so, like, both players took, like, damage equal to the combined attack of the fusion monsters that were battling, which... Yeah, if you add 10 and 20,000 together, like, that's gonna be lethal for both players, like, easily. Neither player should survive that. Okay, so it's talking about Cyber Dragon, so I guess the art checks out. Target one Cyber Dragon monster you control. If it battles a defense position monster this turn while you control it, well, you're gonna control that Cyber Dragon, sure. Apply these effects. Your opponent cannot summon monsters with attack less than or equal to that monster's original attack during this turn. I mean, you can summon, like, during the opponent's turn, but typically, like, most of the summoning you are doing is often, like, on your own turn anyways. If it battles a token type monster. So would that imply that it has to battle a token? If it battles a token, immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon one Cyber Dragon. Without attributing for it, or do you gotta tribute for it? Still, it's, I guess, outside of the token type, if we just assume that it says, like, battles a token, this is doable, but it's weird as hell. Oddly specific, but I guess it's doable. Elias, the ingenious pendulum dragon. I don't even feel like reading all this text, but I guess I'll do it anyways. So, Fallen of Albaz and one spellcaster type. That is fusion material. Once per turn, you can target one Fallen of Albaz in your graveyard, special summon it. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can send one Fallen of Albaz or one monster that mentions it from your deck to the graveyard, except... I mean, you couldn't send this anyways because it's an extra deck monster. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles a monster with equal or lower attack, you can destroy that monster. Then if you destroyed a monster, well, I guess we just did, didn't we? You can special summon one fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz material from your extra deck. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except fusion, synchro, or pendulum monsters. Which is odd to see this on one of the Albaz dragons in an archetype that typically only locks you into fusions from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. Or the entire turn, I should say. Yeah, assuming you didn't play like Branded Fusion or Branded Opening or another card like that, like beforehand. Because then you'll just literally only be locked into fusions from the extra deck for the rest of the turn anyways. Okay, it does have to, like, destroy a monster in battle, or destroy it by card effect to cheat something out of the extra deck anyways. Considering just how, like, stupidly powerful some of the other, like, Fallen of Albaz, like, dragons are. I don't think this is pushing it at all, considering cards like... Considering, like, Mirror Jade is one of those dragons. This isn't really pushing it at all. I probably want to look at this one, too. Also, I guess I'll look at this branded card first. This branded support this AI came up with, this normal spell. Emblem of the Branded. Add one Emblem of the Branded from your deck to your hand. If you control a Fallen of Albaz, you can add any branded card from your deck to your hand instead, then you can apply this effect. Fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your hand or field, including a Fallen of Albaz. Okay, at least you can only activate one of these like per turn. Oh god, like if you could activate multiples per turn, but then again, you have to banish the materials from your hand or field. You can't go into like your deck or anything like that, or your graveyard. Add any branded card from deck to hand, though. I don't know, that's still pretty good. I wouldn't say that it's, like, too good, though. I mean, I think it's fair. So there's literally a card named Damage Calculation. If I scroll further down, there's literally a Damage Calculation name card. Okay, this does not look like a light. This does not look like a light attribute. Personally. Absolute king, Yugioh. Once per turn, you can detach one... Okay, you gotta use specifically Light Fiend level 5s to summon this thing. So once per turn, you can detach one material from this card. Target one Yugioh or Old Vindictive Magic card in your graveyard. Add it to your hand. If this card has a Yugioh as material... Yugioh is not a level 5, though. It gains this effect. Once per turn during your main phase, you can target up to 2 face-up monsters your opponent controls. Your opponent can send one face-up Yugioh you control to the graveyard, and if they do, this card gains attack equal to the original attack of that monster sent to the graveyard, Times 1,000. Doesn't Yubel have no attack points or something? This gains... Yeah. No, 0 times 1,000 is still 0. I think both of these... Wait. Is this card really going to come out with like a German name when we get into TCG? Yeah, I think Phantom Nightmare comes out in like a week or two. So we're going to get like new Yubel cards. And of course, cards that mention Yubel. But honestly, this doesn't cut it in my opinion. Honestly, just refuse to comment further on this one. It just really looks like a mess to me. Okay, who is this? Widdy the Black Rose of Temptation. This level 4 1600 attack vanilla warrior. Who is this? Though destined to be an unworthy name, this creature's true name is said to come from the cursed warrior of the waters. To his comrades in arms. His name, that is a he, apparently. So is this monster maybe supposed to be like a transgender male that looks like a woman? Or am I getting my genders mixed up? His name rhymes with Dark World, World Legends. No, it does not. I mean, it's still like a perfectly normal monster. Level checks out, stats check out. Damage calculation. Trap card. When you pay 500, 1,000, or 2,000 life points, negate the effects of one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict 2,000 damage to your opponent. Oddly specific, though. You have to pay exactly one of those life point amounts to negate an opponent's monster effect. This is still interesting design space, though. You have to chain this to a card that makes it pay exactly like one of these life point amounts. The only card that I can think of off the top of my head that has you pay 2,000 life points is like a Pointer of the Red Lotus, but it's banned. There's probably like plenty of... Oh, there's definitely like plenty of pay 1,000s. Probably also quite a few pay 500 life points as well. Chain this to one of those to negate the effects of one of your opponent's monsters and burn them for 2,000. It's a very oddly specific, like, negate your opponent's monster effect to, if you can time it right, also get 2,000 points of burn damage in. Oh, this is pretty silly, like, pretty unconventional design space. I mean, it technically, it's functional. You can technically do this. If we think of it that way, you have to chain it to like a card that makes you pay exactly 500, 1,000, or 2,000 life points. You could do that. It's doable. Is this guy from like an anime or from Transformers or Super Heavy Samurai Soul King? Okay, an actual, like, in-archetype Super Heavy Samurai Synchro, technically. So the materials all have to be, like, Super Heavy Samurai monsters. This card can attack while in face-up defense position, and if it does, apply its defense for damage calculation, except you don't want to be doing that because 1,600 defense. Or just play this in attack mode and have 3,200 attack. I mean, you see that on, I think you see that on just about all, like, the Super Heavy Samurai boss monsters, but thing is, they actually have, like, more defense than attack, so it makes sense to actually put that line of text there. Whereas this is a 3,200, 1,600, so you don't want to be putting this in defense mode to attack for 1,600 damage. Just play this in attack mode like any other monster with more attack and defense. When this card is synchro summoned, you can target one Super Heavy Samurai monster you control with 800 plus attack in your graveyard. So anything 800 or above, equip that target to this card, and once returned while this card's equipped with a monster, you can send one monster equipped to this card to the graveyard. Negate the first effect activated on your opponent's side of the field, even if this leaves the field. Once returned during either player's turn, you can target one super heavy samurai monster on the field. This could target itself, actually. Until the end of this turn, its defense becomes equal to the total original attack of all attack position monsters your opponent controls. Maybe that's not so bad to put in defense mode, no, is it? Maybe that's not so bad after all. You could go swinging in for a lot of damage this way. Summon in defense. And then use the effect to target itself. Until in a turn, its defense becomes equal to the total original attack of all. Yeah, so this could just balloon to like a lot of defense points when... And if it's in defense mode and can attack... It could attack for, I don't know, I guess a lot of damage potentially. Yeah, we got a perfectly reasonable card here too. Okay, I'm gonna scroll down a little bit further. Watch Cat. Level 2 light. That doesn't look like a thunder monster. Watch Cat. Wait. 2 defense. 1050 attack and 2 defense. Defense position monsters your opponent's controls lose 1000 attack. I don't know, Watch Cat, you tried. You tried, but you failed. Yeah, I really do think in most cases, taking the 1000 attack off a defense position monster is going to do literally nothing. I guess unless the card can attack while in defense position. And it specifically has to use its attack for damage calculation. Unlike the super heavy samurai that I was looking at earlier. And other super heavy samurais that have that sort of effect. Okay, so I guess the Watch Cat technically counters a few cards. Okay, this one attacks with its defense if it's in defense mode, so the Watch Cat would do nothing to this one. Level 4 while in defense mode. Also applies defense for damage calculation. Apply their defense for damage calculation. Same here. I'm guessing same here, right? Yep. I'm guessing all the super heavy samurais, pretty much all of them if they're in defense mode and they can attack in defense mode, they use the defense stat for damage. That is a big train. Yeah, so there's this, and I think there's also like the total defense shogun or something that can attack in defense mode. Yeah, and if it does, you have to use the attack of this card for damage calculation. So the Watch Cat would... It wouldn't even like fully counter them, they just lose 1000 attack. And this would only apply to like, off the top of my head I can think of, only 2 cards in the entire game that this would actually like impact? Yeah, there might for all we know only be like 2 monsters that attack in defense mode and specifically use their attack for damage calculation. The only 2 cards where I think this effect would even matter. Unless someone in these comments maybe pointed out there's like a third card. Thank God this card has 2 defense. I was so worried that it would be defenseless against 0 attack or 1 attack monsters. 2. There's so much going on here. Oh wait, so is Rampart Blaster like another card that can attack in defense mode? I think so. Found you, faker. So there is a real card named Watchcat that... Yeah, there is. You can set a continuous spell directly from your deck off this, apparently. You gotta wait like the whole turn to actually do so, though, and then you have to get back to your turn and hope that continuous spell is still in the field to actually get any sort of like mileage out of it, though. I'm not that desperate to like try and get this King Sarcophagus in my hand. I have like plenty of other ways. So yeah, Watchcat is a real card, so that's another reason like we can't print it. Invoked Cocytus is quaking in its boots. Okay, this is one I recognize. This is one I've probably seen before. Oh yeah, the DDD High King with the random Japanese characters in his name, and then the Faithful, and then the question mark. I guess I'll just look at... This one looks a lot like the level 10 Beast Warrior that summons Beast Warriors from the deck. Or extra deck or something. Yeah, if we scroll up... Yeah, Beast Warrior Blaze Omega. That one I noticed looks a lot like it. What about this one first? Karibo meets Reincarnation. Normal spell. Special summon one Karibo monster from your hand. Then target one of your banished Karibo monsters. Add it to your hand. If your banished monster is reincarnated this turn. So that would be like a new keyword for... That would have to be like a new keyword that we don't know the definition of. AI is just making up stuff again. Immediately after the banished monster reincarnated returns to your hand, you can special summon one reincarnated Karibo monster from your hand. But this is a keyword that doesn't actually exist. I guess it's up to people in the comments to discuss, like, what that would actually mean. And then, because the card under it is one that I've already read. Because I remembered reading this one in my first AI-generated Yu-Gi-Oh card stream. I'll just finish off with... How similar do these look? Anyways. Beast Warrior... How similar do these two cards look with their art? Oh wow, very similar. Yeah, I definitely thought I saw this before. Or something like it. So, Grave of the Prophecy Specialized Beast, the level 6 Spellcaster Fusion. Made with one Malice Vague the Wickedest Hunter, and a normal monster. This card's name becomes Grave Dragon while in the field or in the graveyard. You can only use each of these effects of Grave of the Prophecy Specialized Beast once per turn. During your main phase, if you control this fusion summon card, you can special summon... Oh. You can fusion summon 2 Spellcaster and or Beast fusion monsters of 2 different types from your extra deck in defense position using... Okay, you still actually have to have the fusion materials to do this fusion summons anyways. You still need to present the fusion material, so it's not that busted. You can banish up to 3 cards from your opponent's graveyard, then target that many cards your opponent controls, destroy them. Wow. That second effect, on the other hand, that is pretty good. You can both take resources out of your opponent's graveyard and just rip stuff off their field. Wow, that's pretty good. You're also banishing the cards from their graveyard for costs, so your opponent wouldn't really be able to, like, I guess unless they play like a card like that just states like you can't banish cards or something like that. They can't really stop the cards from leaving their graveyard because that's the cost there. You could negate the effect to prevent the cards on the field from being destroyed, but not like negate the effect to stop cards from leaving their graveyard. That's pretty good though, but yeah, whoever Malisvig the Wicked, that doesn't exist in the real card game. We would just have to like, we would just have to assume that, I don't know, it does exist. Still looks like a pretty cool card, though. I see this being, like, potentially doable. Yeah, destroying a lot of cards and ripping a lot of cards out of the graveyard, but... I don't know if that's maybe, like, too many, like, cards to be, like, banishing and destroying. I don't know here. I really feel like this one could go either way. Could we print a card that just says banish up to 3 cards from the opponent's graveyard for cost, then destroy that many of your opponent's cards? Could you print that in the TCG and it wouldn't like completely like warp the format? I mean, it also really like depends on what Melisvig the Wickedest Hunter is, like how easy and or difficult that may be to summon. It really does depend on that too. I literally just had this open just to like go look up certain cards, like for example, to see if Watchcat was in fact a real card, which it is. And no, it doesn't have 2 defense and make your opponent's defense monsters like lose 1,000 attack. This one actually reads like a real Yu-Gi-Oh card. And with that, I guess I'm probably just gonna go to bed real soon with that. After just reading a bunch of AI-generated Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Because apparently I hadn't done that and literally hadn't done that in months. But yeah, it's starting to get really late. So yeah, I really just want to like end the stream now.